Live Nation is staring down an antitrust lawsuit from the Department of Justice, and that's according to new reporting by the Wall Street Journal. Now, the details at the moment remain slim, but here's what we do know. The lawsuit alleges that Live Nation, as the country's dominant ticket seller / concert promoter, basically undermined competition in ticketing live events. And if you have bought tickets to a live event recently, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about here. So despite the allegation, the federal government will not try to undo Live Nation's merger with Ticketmaster, which is definitely conducive to monopolization, which is what this is about. But okay, we'll talk about what the potential consequences could be. Sean, you want to weigh in?
No, the whole thing is entirely frustrating. So the merger happened to accomplish this end.
Yes.
Everybody could predict that. People did predict it at the time. You're saying it accomplished that end. You're saying we're gonna stop them, but not stop them from doing the thing that accomplished that end.
Yeah.
So what are we doing here?
Wasting time.
I honestly don't know. I read what you prepared, and I'm honestly not sure what's gonna happen.
Well, let's get to the details, and then I'll give you my speculation in regard to what is likely to happen should the DOJ win this case. Okay, so let's get into the background of this in case you're unfamiliar about Live Nation and why they're facing this suit to begin with. So Live Nation is primarily a concert promoter, a venue operator, and an artist management business. So they've really cornered the market in 3 major areas.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Ticketmaster is a ticket sales distribution company. Okay. Ticketmaster now holds more than 80% of the market for primary ticket sales in the biggest venues in the United States. It has exclusive ticketing contracts with many of the stadiums and arenas where high-profile acts perform. Now, can you understand why a merger with Live Nation, which operates as a concert promoter, venue operator, and artist management business, merging with Ticketmaster, which sells a ticket? Can you understand how all of that wrapped into one major merged company is a problem?
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference? You. If you hit the join button below, it's gonna make all the difference and keep us in business. We appreciate you, thank you.
How that creates a monopoly, you can understand that. Now, when Live Nation and Ticketmaster merged back in 2010, the Department of Justice implemented a consent decree. So this was their way of allowing the merger to happen, John, while providing some checks to this whole system, right? To ensure that Americans aren't getting screwed over as a result of these 2 major companies coming together. It was supposed to stop Live Nation from withholding its tours to concert venues that did not use Ticketmaster. And the consent decree, failed in doing that, okay? So in 2019, the Department of Justice found that Live Nation repeatedly violated that decree. Back in 2019.
Half a decade ago.
5 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So live music got way more expensive, as you can imagine. That's the whole point. So let's go back to the 2019 report done by the DOJ. In the past decade, and particularly over the past few years, ticket prices have soared, increasing by nearly 50% since 2009 to $92.42 on average for the top 100 tours worldwide, according to Pollstar. So the Department of Justice began investigating Live Nation in 2022, 3 years after they found that they had violated their consent decree several times. Later that same year, Ticketmaster crashed when Taylor Swift fans tried to buy tickets for her Eras tour, and that sparked all sorts of widespread outrage. And even some politicians got in on the action, with their own conspiracies about Taylor Swift and all that. We don't need to get into it, that's nonsense. But here's what I think is gonna happen if the Department of Justice succeeds in their lawsuit. They're just gonna fine Live Nation. They're gonna fine Live Nation, and you know what Live Nation's gonna do? Live Nation's gonna pay the fine, and then they're gonna keep violating the consent decree. You wanna know why? Because the fines are significantly outweighed by the profits they make by inflating the prices.
Yeah.
and by violating the consent decree.
Yeah, it's just a cost of doing business.
So that's how the cookie crumbles, everyone. Okay, like this is how the sausage is made. This is how the outcome of two major companies merging ends up being. And I'm supposed to celebrate a DOJ lawsuit when I know exactly what the outcome of the DOJ lawsuit's gonna be.
Yeah, well, and it's even worse than usual. Like we've had some things like this where theoretically they come out swinging and then by the end it's a fine that gets chopped in half 6 months later after appeal, and then maybe they pay a tiny bit. In this, they're coming out saying, we're not really gonna do much.
Exactly.
It's gonna be a small fine. It's gonna be a couple percentage points of their profit for 1 year. They've been doing this for years and years and years. It's distressing, yeah.
So maybe preventing the mergers from happening in the first place is a little more important than implementing a weak, pathetic consent decree that really no one does anything about for years after finding the consent decree has been violated. And then once the lawsuit happens, and if the government entity, in this case the DOJ, succeeds in their lawsuit, slap them with a fine, they pay the fine, and then continue to violate the consent decree. That's how it works, so.
And really fast, look, theoretically, Congress could do something about this. They implied a couple of years ago.
That's very cute, John.
I'm not saying they're going to, but I'm saying it's not like the only avenue we have to solve this problem is the DOJ. You could pass some sort of bill that helps to regulate this industry, and politicians grandstanded and sort of implied, some of them, that they would do something like that. But I don't know, maybe with the DOJ implying that they're not gonna solve this problem, we can have some politicians actually stand up. I think there would be a lot of people that would be excited about that.
Sure, but look, the main issue with the regulations is that the regulations usually result in fines. And the fines are not, like listen, the fines have to be significant enough to outweigh the profits they're making by breaking the law.
Yeah.
Unless the regulations could result in executives going to prison. But that's not gonna happen.
Breaking up the companies.
Or breaking up the companies, which will never happen in a million years. Like I would be shocked if anyone even proposed that.
Yeah.
The DOJ is like, oh look, Live Nation, they're going against the consent decree, but we're not gonna break them up. I mean, we wouldn't do that. We wouldn't wanna undo the merger. Okay, then you're useless. Then sit down, no cookies for you. How about that?
Thanks for watching. If you become a member, you get to watch all this ad-free, except for, of course, this ad. Still, hit the join button below.